It was close to 3 in the morning when Daniel's old pickup gave its final rattle and died on a forgotten stretch of track deep in the Appalachian Mountains. The engine coughed once, twice, then fell silent. He cursed, slamming the hood shut, but the sound didn't echo the way it should have. It just sank into the night, swallowed whole. The fog was thick, clinging to his skin, crawling into his lungs. The air was damp and metallic, like breathing through a blood-stained rag. Daniel paused, frowning. The silence was unnatural. No crickets, no owls, no wind. Even the trees stood too still, their branches unmoving, their shadows frozen. And then, it came a whistle, long, low, sad. It drifted through the fog like a cry from the grave. Daniel's heart stuttered in his chest. That couldn't be. This railway hadn't seen a train in decades, but the sound grew louder, closer. The ground shivered beneath his boots. Through the choking fog, a sickly yellow light pierced the dark. It flickered, weak at first, then brighter, spreading wider until it bled across the trees. Daniel's breath hitched. A shape emerged. An old steam engine screamed into the ruined station ahead, its wheels grinding against rusted rails, throwing sparks like fire from hell. The station itself looked broken, roof caved in, boards warped and splintered. But the train gleamed, blackened with soot, as if it had just returned from the flames. Its number was etched faintly into its iron face, 113. The whistle howled again. The fog recoiled around it. Through the windows, Daniel saw them, faces dozens of them pressed against the glass, their features warped with despair, pale hollow-eyed, their mouths stretched wide in silent screams, their skins sagged like melted wax. Hands slapped against the glass in perfect unison, each strike rattling the windows until the sound echoed like bones snapping. The doors opened with a long hiss, the air that poured out reeking of ash and charred flesh. A conductor stepped down. His figure was tall, his shoulders broad, but his movements were slow, broken, like a puppet tugged on old strings. His uniform was neat, but rotted at the edges, stained dark with ash that never faded. His skin was gray, stretched too tight over his bones, and when he smiled, it split his face too wide.
"All aboard," he rasped. His voice was not one voice but many, layered, cracked, like gravel dragged across iron. Daniel staggered back, his throat dry. No thanks, I'm not going anywhere." The conductor's smile widened, his blackened teeth gleaming. He tilted his head, slow, deliberate. "But you already have a ticket." Daniel's stomach dropped. His hands fumbled at his jacket, and there it was, a slip of yellow paper he'd never seen before. The card was warm, as if it had been burning in his pocket. The ink shimmered wet and fresh. Passenger Daniel Moore. Train 113, departure 3 a.m. His hands trembled. He dropped it, but the conductor's eyes never left him. Behind the glass, the faces grew frantic. Their mouths opened wider, their gums black, their tongues shriveled. Their palms slammed harder, faster, in perfect rhythm. And then Daniel heard them. Whispers. Dozens of voices curling through the night, bleeding into his ears, sliding under his skin. "Daniel. Daniel. Daniel." He clutched his head, but the voices were inside him now, crawling into his skull. The air turned freezing, burning his throat as he gasped. The ground trembled. The train hissed, black steam pouring out like a living thing, wrapping around his legs. He stumbled back, screaming, No, I'm not getting on." The conductor's smile cracked wider, stretching impossibly, his cheeks splitting open, dark liquid dripping down his chin. His voice boomed now, a chorus of the damned. "You cannot miss your train." The invisible pull grew stronger, dragging Daniel across the gravel. His boots scraped, sparks flying from the stones. The doors gaped open, darkness yawning inside like a mouth. The voices screamed his name louder, deafening until it was all he could hear. He tore himself free with a desperate howl and bolted into the woods. Branches slashed at his face, clawing his arms, tearing his clothes. The whistle shrieked behind him, louder than thunder, splitting the night. The ground shook as though the world itself was coming apart. He ran until his lungs felt like fire, until blood filled his mouth. Then, silence. Shaking, Daniel pressed himself against a tree and dared to turn. The train was gone. The tracks were nothing but rust and weeds, broken and twisted. The station was a skeleton, roof caved in, sign barely hanging, not a single mark in the dirt to prove the train had ever been there. The next day he stumbled into town, pale as a corpse. He told the locals what he had seen, his voice breaking. The diner went silent. An old man looked at him, eyes hollow with fear. "That train," he whispered. "It crashed 100 years ago. Fire swallowed it whole. Every passenger burned alive. But every few years, it comes back. Hunting for the living. Hunting for new passengers." Daniel's hands shook as he reached into his pocket. The ticket was still there. But now it was brittle, ancient, edges curling like burnt paper. The ink had faded to ghostly grey, but the words remained. Passenger, Daniel Moore. Train 113. His departure time was crossed out, and underneath, written in thick black ink that seemed to bleed across the page, was a single word. Delayed. Daniel dropped the paper. His knees buckled. And then, far in the distance, so faint it could have been the wind, the whistle blew again. Long, low, sad. And he knew the train would return. Not tonight, not tomorrow, but soon. And when it did, it would not be delayed again.
It was just after midnight when four friends, Alex, Sarah, Josh, and Mia, pushed open the rusted doors of Mercy General Hospital. The hospital had been closed since 1974, after something terrible forced the city to seal it shut. The hinges groaned as the doors opened. A wave of cold, stale air spilled out, carrying the smell of mold, rust, and something sharper. Something like blood. Josh lifted his flashlight. The beam cut through the dust, revealing long hallways littered with wheelchairs and broken stretchers. Paint peeled from the walls in strips, curling like skin. "Come on," Alex said, forcing confidence into his voice. 5 minutes inside, a couple pictures for Instagram, and we're out. But Mercy General didn't feel empty. It felt aware. As they crept down the hallway, a sound broke the silence. A child's cry, soft, distant. It carried through the halls and froze them where they stood. "Did you hear that?" Mia whispered. "It's a trick of the wind," Josh said quickly, though his voice trembled. The sound led them to the maternity ward. Rows of metal cribs lined the corridor. Their wheels creaked as they swayed gently, though the air was still. The name tags had long since faded, but the smell of antiseptic lingered, sharp and suffocating. On the walls, something red bled through the peeling paint. Words, names, hundreds of them. Sarah leaned closer, her heart pounding. "Wait, that's my name, right here." Her finger trembled as she pointed, and there, next to hers, was Alex's, then Mia's, then Josh's. They froze. The crying stopped. Silence, heavy, crushing. Then the lights overhead buzzed. One by one, flickering fluorescent tubes crackled to life, spilling harsh white light down the corridor. At the far end stood a figure, a nurse. Her uniform was crisp but torn. A blood-stained cap sat atop her head. Her face was hidden in shadow, but her chin tilted toward them, as though acknowledging their arrival. She raised her hand, slowly, and pointed. The air grew colder. The cribs rattled violently. Metal clanged as if unseen hands struck them. One by one, the friends began to vanish. Josh was the first. He opened his mouth to scream, but no sound came. His body flickered, like a dying image on a TV, and then he was gone. Mia collapsed to the floor, clawing at the tiles. Her nails broke as she scraped at the ground, but the darkness swallowed her whole. Sarah's eyes locked with the nurse's shadowed face. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Please," she whispered. Her body snapped backward, dragged into the dark. Gone. Alex stood alone. His breath came in sharp bursts. "Where are they? What did you do?" he shouted. No answer, only silence. He stumbled into the records room, searching desperately for a way out. His flashlight beam caught a frame on the wall. An old black and white photograph. The staff of Mercy General, 1974. Nurses in neat rows. Doctors standing tall. Their faces faded with time, but Alex's blood froze. Because he was in there, he stood among them, smiling faintly, his hand resting on the shoulder of a nurse whose face had been scratched out. The flashlight flickered, and behind him, in the dark, the nurse whispered softly, "Welcome back, doctor." The light died. Silence swallowed Mercy General once more. The photo.
It was a cold October night in Salem, Massachusetts. The kind of night when the air feels heavier, when the mist doesn't rise from the ground but clings to it, wrapping around your legs like a warning not to go further. 4 teenagers, Jason, Emily, Tyler, and Claire, stood at the end of a dirt road. At its far end, half hidden by the skeletal trees, was the house that everyone in town whispered about. The house at Raven Road, its shape hunched against the night sky like something alive. Its roof sagged as though weighed down by centuries of secrets. Broken windows stared like hollow eyes, reflecting nothing but the pale, crooked moon above. Claire's voice trembled. "Why are we really doing this?" Emily hugged her arms tightly. "And if it's not?" Jason hesitated, then forced a laugh. "Then maybe we'll be famous." Tyler tried to lighten the mood, his voice cracking with nerves. "Yeah, famous for being the idiots who actually did it." No one laughed. The air around the house was colder. The grass along the path was dead, brittle under their shoes. As they reached the porch, the boards groaned. The front door stood crooked, swollen from rain. Jason pushed it open. The hinges screamed like something alive. The stench hit them at once. Damp wood, old ash, and the faint, sharp tang of candle wax. It was as if a ritual had ended only moments before, and they had walked in too late. Their flashlights cut across the walls. The wallpaper sagged and peeled, revealing dark stains underneath. They crept inside, every step too loud in the silence. For a long time, nothing happened. The house just waited, and then the clock struck midnight. It was a cold October night in Salem, Massachusetts. The kind of night when the air feels heavier, when the mist doesn't rise from the ground but clings to it, wrapping around your legs like a warning not to go further. 4 teenagers, Jason, Emily, Tyler, and Claire, stood at the end of a dirt road. At its far end, half hidden by the skeletal trees, was the house that everyone in town whispered about. The house at Raven Road. Its shape hunched against the night sky like something alive. Its roof sagged as though weighed down by centuries of secrets. Broken windows stared like hollow eyes, reflecting nothing but the pale, crooked moon above. Claire's voice trembled. "Why are we really doing this?" Jason smirked, but even in the dark they could see the unease in his eyes. "Because if we spend the night here, we'll prove it's just another ghost story." Emily hugged her arms tightly. "And if it's not?" Jason hesitated, then forced a laugh. "Then maybe we'll be famous." Tyler tried to lighten the mood, his voice cracking with nerves. "Yeah, famous for being the idiots who actually did it." No one laughed. The air around the house was colder. The grass along the path was dead, brittle under their shoes. As they reached the porch, the boards groaned. The front door stood crooked, swollen from rain. Jason pushed it open. The hinges screamed like something alive. The stench hit them at once. Damp wood, old ash, and the faint, sharp tang of candle wax. It was as if a ritual had ended only moments before, and they had walked in too late. Their flashlights cut across the walls. The wallpaper sagged and peeled, revealing dark stains underneath. They crept inside, every step too loud in the silence. For a long time, nothing happened. The house just waited, and then the clock struck midnight. Claire sobbed. "We can't leave. It won't let us." The whispers swelled into chanting. The walls rattled. Black smoke bled from the cracks, curling like hands reaching for them. They turned toward the mirror again. Their reflections were gone. The glass showed something else. The 4 of them tied to wooden stakes, flames climbing higher, the chanting crowd screaming for blood. Jason shouted, his voice breaking. "It's us! It's us!" The heat filled the hall. Flames licked their skin, though no fire touched them. Their screams merged with those who had burned centuries before, their cries echoing across time. And then, silence. The house stilled. The door creaked shut. Raven Road lay empty beneath the Salem moon. But inside the cracked mirror, 4 new figures now stood among the condemned. Their faces twisted in terror, eyes wide, mouths forever open in a scream no living soul would hear.